Oh, if I were to tell you now, I don't know if you could understand how the hands of time have molded me, and I've become a changed man. Yes, I've become a changed man. I never knew what I was missing. How could I miss what I didn't know? I was afraid to listen, thinking that it did not show. But now I can see clearly what was right in front of me. I had to run into a brick wall to make me stop and start to see. And if I were to tell you now, I don't know if you could understand how the hands of time have molded me, and I become a changed man. Yes, I become a changed man. At first it was just subtly, you would not even know the changes that came over me, but gradually they started to show. From the bottom to the top, a work in progress still. A different man in every way, but mostly how I've learned to feel. And if I were to tell you now, I don't know if you could understand how the hands of time have molded me, and I've become a changed man. Yes, I've become a changed man. Sometimes it takes a tragedy to make us understand where we are going. But when we finally open up our eyes and face the truths, we start growing. If I were to tell you now, I don't know if you could understand how the hands of time have molded me, and I've become a changed man. Oh, if I were to tell you now, I don't know if you could understand how the hands of time have molded me, and I become a changed man. Yes, I become a changed man.
Thank you, and good morning. Good morning. So when I came in this morning, I went to our audio-visual team and I said, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. I'm so glad y'all are happy. So welcome here. I guess we're the first Sunday after Easter, and sometimes it's a little bit quieter. So I'm going to invite us into this delicious space to maybe close those outer eyes and feel that chair that you are seated in, fully supporting your body. And I invite you to take a breath in. Allow that air to seep all the way down through your toes and exhale. Feel into the calm this morning. That delicious space that everything is all right. No matter that outer appearance, our soul is doing just fine. We bring in those teachers, those guides, those illustrators that are our inside guides, our God guides. That still small voice that directs us and tells us, yes, this is mine to do, and today we are alive, awake, alert, and we are enthusiastic about this journey. We let go all appearances of lack. We let go of the blame game, the shame game, and we stand in that power of who we already are. And for this, we are so grateful. Grateful that we are sharing this journey with one another. Soak that in. Soak that in. And with that, we say thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. It's in every one of us to be free. Find your heart, open your eyes and see. We can all have everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by you and I. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. It's in every one of us here and now.
Beautiful. You may be seated.
And the word that I've chosen to share today is zeal. I read this earlier in the week, and I think that's what we're all about here. So, the opening affirmation is, my zeal for life carries me forward. But as a congregation, we are together in this. So our zeal for life carries all of us forward. We connect with the power of zeal within us and feel an influx of energy and enthusiasm. Our zeal drives our apathy and boredom away, filling us with passion and purpose. We use zeal to propel ourselves into new adventures with confidence and boldness. At the start of each day, we affirm enthusiasm for everything before us, even the more mundane parts of life. They can be a joy too. We approach each task with gusto, knowing our attitudes will make all the difference. Our zeal inspires us spiritually. Far from the frenzy and charged activity of our outer lives, we bring quiet zeal to our spiritual lives. We stoke the fires of spiritual truth until they burn steadily within us, setting our minds and hearts aglow with the light of God. And the words from Deuteronomy, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And so it is.
As I sit and close my eyes, there's peace in my mind, and I'm hoping that you feel it too. And this feeling in my heart, I know, is meant for you. if we just take some time and still our mind, something beautiful comes shining through. And this light of love shines away for me and you.
I invite you into that space of quiet with that quiet music playing in the background, knowing that you are surrounded and supported by that divine essence of life and love. The topic today is you are a masterpiece. The master has taken a piece of itself and created you. Just like the artist takes the clay and creates a pot, or the musician takes a note and creates a song. There are so many ways in this world to be a masterpiece, to express God's beauty, God's creativity, God's intelligence. And every way that we can do that is divine. It is blessed with sweetness and light. Perhaps you're a teacher who passes on your knowledge to others and allows them to grow, to express their own intelligence, their own innate knowingness. Perhaps you're a healer. Music can be a method of healing. Art can be a method of healing, as well as the medical community and the inspirational community that brings light and life and love to us. Perhaps you are a peacemaker, one of those sweet souls that has the right words at the right time to create a softness in the heart, to bring in that beauty of the life that is all around us. So however you express as God's masterpiece, I invite you to take just a moment now in the silence and to know you are created in that image and likeness of beauty and love in the silence. And as your consciousness returns to this time and place, remember you are created in the image and likeness of God, and what you create expresses that even more fully. So this week, share your light, share your love, share your joy. And so it is. Amen.
What if this is it? The kingdom that's at hand, in this ever-present moment, the fullness of I am, no other place, time, or place we're gonna be, always here and now, creating our reality. Well, how would we change the way we see, understanding that the world is inside of you and me? It's simple but not easy, everyone creates their own. Return to love, return to unity, return to home. We've all heard that through the eyes of a child we should see, before we took on all the judgment, the opinions and debris. Be quick to forgive and return to inner peace. Every day, make our life a masterpiece. Well, how would we change the way we see, understanding that the world is inside of you and me? Simple but not easy, everyone creates their own. Return to love, return to unity, return to home. Be quick to forgive and return to inner peace. Every day, make our life a masterpiece. How would we change the way we see, understanding that the world is inside of you and me? Simple but not easy, everyone creates their own. Return to love, return to unity. How would we change the way we see, understanding that the world is inside of you and me? Simple but not easy, everyone creates their own. Return to love, return to unity, return to home.
You can't always see is when Terrell wrote that down, it's Master P-E-A-C-E. And when I was looking for our title today, I'm looking at Master P-I-E-C-E. So I'm just going to welcome us to put all the pieces together and have dominion. Have dominion within us. Because that's what I heard from his music, is that we're coming home. We're coming home to the unity that belongs in each one of us. And the world that exists inside each one of us is our own perception. It's our own filter, our own learnings, our own time that we gather in what we have experienced thus far. And when something new is introduced, we kind of look through that filter and those tapes. Is it something I understand? Do I know this? Is it familiar to me, whether you like the familiarity or not? So I want to share with you today, Karen Miller, our previous board member, and her wife, Pam, gave me Lasting Happiness and a Changing World, the Book of Joy. And in this are interviews with the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. So I figured we can open up with these wise teachers and see if we agree with a few things that they both share with us. And again, looking for the dominion of ourselves, the power and authority to think and to control our thoughts so that we don't go down that rabbit hole of negativity and live in that space where we feel less than. You know, Myrtle Fillmore, our co-founder with Charles, said, we have the propensity to go negative. That same energy that we use that goes into a negative form, we can shift that energy and bring in the positive. So I wanted to share what first the Dalai Lama says. You are a masterpiece in the making. It's very simple, the Dalai Lama began. Everyone knows that physical pain is bad and tries to avoid it. We do this not only by curing diseases, but also by trying to prevent them. and by trying to keep our physical immunity strong. Mental pain is equally bad, so we should try to alleviate it as well. The way to do this is to develop mental immunity. Mental immunity. Now, very interesting to me, many of you may recognize Louise Hay, and in her own spiritual path, she took the words that we tell ourselves and she brought it into the physical body. And if there was ever dis-ease, if there was ever a place that it filtered down into, and for someone it might be in the gut, that place of intuition, that place of reaction, that place of knowing. And when your filter of words, unworthiness, shame, or blame, feel into the body, they coagulate in a common area. And when that area, they begin to gather together and create cells that are not healthy. And for some of us, it might look like dis-ease. That digestion, the digestion of words. Where are our feelings? How many of us are so disconnected? We are so good intellectually. We can filter those words in, but where do we feel them in our body? One of her favorite exercises was to tell people to go home and look in the mirror. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes for just a moment. Imagine that you are looking in a mirror. See your face. See your hairline. See your cheekbone structure. See your lips. And as you are looking in that mirror, do you see lines of wisdom around your eyes? Do you see laugh lines around your mouth? Look at what you see in that mirror. Now look deeply into those eyes. We call the windows of the soul. What is your soul telling you? What reflection is peering back at you? You've probably been through some things. You probably see in the wisdom of those eyes that you have been through some things. Can you also look at those magical experiences? Imagine the first cry of that little niece or nephew, maybe your own child. Look at that whole bundle of puppies, and the one you wanted you. And you're filled with warmth and gladness. Look deeper inside and accept all of you, all pieces of you. Take dominion and authority of what you're looking at. Can you look at your reflection and say, I love you? I love you. All pieces of you. And I invite you to open your eyes and come back into the room and feel in your body what that experience was like. Was it one of joyfulness, gladness? Was it a little tenuous? You're not really sure that you actually love all pieces of who you are? Maybe you know you have shown up sometimes not in the fullness of the spirit that you would like to express. And can you love that part of yourself too? For the people we attract in our lives bring us those opportunities of our own life soul's mission, our own journey. And some of us may have questioned. In Unity, it's often said we chose our parents. And I thought, are you kidding me? I must have been the divine exception. And maybe some of you have that same thought in your mind. And recently, I have a gift for someone in here who asked some questions about astrology. And there's a piece in this specific book that talks about how everything is arranged and the planets and the stars. But what is our mission in life? What have we come to teach? And what have we come to learn? And so I was looking at my little Aquarius spirit, and I'm pretty familiar with where my signs are in the chart. And man, Aquarius just pulls in some crap. You know, there's some past life stuff about learning how to control that power within. How to not only control that power within, but to go inside and be okay with it. And Aquarius has a strong humanitarian purpose. And so they want to give to the universal flow. But we have to be careful not to lose ourselves in trying to appease others. That's probably a universal lesson. Not just to one star sign or another, but where do we give ourselves away? Where do we give our power away when we're just trying to do the right thing? So in that song, come home to yourself. Come back to center. We all have that power to tap into our God message and ask the big question. When you hear something far out, like one of our friends was told, Italy right now, go. Book that trip and go. And everybody said, have you lost your mind? And she said, no, I am right in my mind. I am going exactly where I am meant to be. We hear fear on the outside world when judgment is passed around us. And our job is to go back to center, to be the master of our own pieces, because we know when we are guided how delicious that is. Have you ever recognized when something comes with ease and grace that maybe that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing? And yet if you stay still and try nothing else, then you become stagnant. And we'll say spiritually die. So my daughter says to me, knowing there's an Aries rising, if any of y'all are familiar with that little warrior, and she said, Mom, you're just like a shark. I went, excuse me? I am absolutely terrified of sharks. If I had not seen Jaws, my whole life would be so different. So she looked at me and she goes, but you're like that shark. If you quit swimming, you will die. Take that in. What is true for you? If you don't move outside that comfort box, if you don't explore your soul's journey, are you going to come back and do it again? Are you going to choose new players to play with? Take that inside and say, what is mine to do? And listen to that guidance. Now, another aspect of that, I talked to someone very dear to my heart, and we went into this path of, things aren't feeling really good in my body right now. And I said, well, do you know Louise Hay? And she talks about thoughts and mind. Thank you. We can tell she's a big fan of unity. Thoughts and mind produce after their kind. And even in our unconsciousness, if we've not dealt with some of the pain where that wisdom comes through, but if we haven't dealt with some of those sticky issues, back in high school, the whole family went to counseling. Now, you asked me how many teenagers want to go to counseling with their parents. And this man says, we got the warm fuzzies and the cold pricklies. I'm like, dude, this whole thing is cold pricklies. What teenager wants to expose their underbelly side in front of those parents? So I invite you, what is that cold prickly that you haven't turned around yet, that you haven't dived into and explored? Desmond Tutu says we're going to have negative thoughts. We're going to dance in the dance of negativity, and it's normal. Just don't plant a flag, right? Don't set up your campground and stay there. And yet real things happen to us. Real things happen with a diagnosis, a loss of a pet. Someone dear to you moves away. Someone hangs up on that phone and you weren't ready yet. So we go inside and we feel, those of us who love to intellectualize, we stay up here in the ethers. Did I tell you an Aquarius is an air sign? Honey, we're major visionaries. And then that little tiny side of me, that divine feminine, she's Pisces. And she swims in water. I'm like, what? I told you about sharks. But she goes into that emotional realm and she can feel and take on other people's junk. And we have to learn when to set our own healthy boundaries. We want to be compassionate towards one another. We want to be empathetic towards one another. But don't get in that boat and drown with them, right? So we have to set those healthy boundaries up. And we go inside and we say, so the cold prickly that doesn't feel good, let's face it head on. Let's take it like that mirror and see what it's reflecting back to us to learn. Where is our soul's evolution if not to get into that cold prickly stuff? Let's go through the journey. Let's go open-minded, curious through the journey. Let's spread it open. Let's dive into it. Where did it come from? Maybe it was your family of origin. Maybe it was a hot relationship that really wasn't in your best interest. Maybe it came from something in the outside world and you turned it inward and claimed it as your journey. Falsely. For you are made good and whole. Our spiritual teachers, like Desmond Tutu, like the Dalai Lama, they say that we are made in the essence of good. And I think you will find many spiritual teachings talk about that inner goodness that exists inside each one of us. But if you were a child and you heard how bad you were, or that you didn't measure up to that older brother or sister, that message that you carried for 20 and 30 years, maybe 40 years, and didn't open up that cold prickly, well, it's staying in that gut. No wonder you can't digest anything. No wonder things are seeping and pouring out in the most untimely of times. So we want to go in there and love ourselves. Love that child who heard those messages that were hard. We call it reframe the message. What is your soul's purpose? When you dive in and you get that inner message, if it was hard coming through childhood, maybe that taught you empathy. Maybe that taught you a way to be open and curious about a new way of being. Because you know in your heart of hearts, that's garbage. That's not who you are. You are a divine child of the utmost high. We call that spirit God. We call it the Atman. We call it Allah. However you get there, it doesn't matter. It's the same energy field. So when you are saying those negative thoughts that bring you down, I'm less than, I can't, shift the energy. I am powerful. Say it together. I am powerful. I am creative together. I am creative. I am divine. I am divine. Let those words filter through your body. These are life-giving words. These are expressions that want you to emulate. I love, so when the master crafter is creating, it is a duplication, it is an outreach, an outpouring of where that God is. So you are that. And you have all those same principles. What did Jesus say? These things I do, you can do, and more. But when we stay small, when we believe the outpourings of the outer world, maybe there's another spiritual tool that we might use. Can you guess what it might be? Prayer is beautiful. Prayer, meditation, repetitive words. But how about that tool of forgiveness? How about that tool that reaches inside and says, I forgive me of holding on to this story. Don't be a martyr. Nobody likes a martyr. It's boring. Go inside that story and be ready to release it. You've got to work on yourself before you work on others. What do we talk about in the airplane? Now, I know I had 2 small children. We used to fly out and see my mom in New Mexico, and I cannot promise I would have taken that mask on my own face first. But if I quit breathing, who was going to help my kids, right? So when that oxygen mask drops down, you first. And then you love those around you, and you work with them. So in a pattern of forgiveness, what does that say? You first. Forgive yourself first. And that person that you believe wronged you, treated you unfairly, maybe deeply wounded you, forgive them for not showing up the way you wish they had. How many people, and don't really raise your hands, but deeply inside, maybe you wish your mother had been very different. You went to somebody else's birthday parties and they got to be first in line. They got the biggest cake and all the presents. That's not what happened at your house. Maybe someone else's dad coached their little league team, but that's not what happened in your house. So today you get to create that house. You get to reframe that story. If mom didn't treat you the way you wanted her to, you got the lesson how you want to treat others, how you want to treat others, how you want to be treated. If your dad was an absent father, and you know intellectually he was out there making the money, but man, you would have liked a Friday night with him, and you saw the other kids' parents went out and had pizza, what does that tell you? You are abundant. You are abundant. You can create these relationships. And when you felt the absenteeism and your little soul felt lost or abandoned, maybe your soul's evolution is to help fill that spot for another. Now, don't crowd them. If they need a little space, give them space. But when they are hurting, there are so many of us that just can't ask for help. So maybe instead of you barraging them with everything you know, because we know you know, we know you're a subject matter expert. That's what they called them in the banking industry. You are a SME. You are SME, subject matter expert. But right then, when someone's in pain, you don't need to add to their pain. Sit beside them. Bring them that casserole. Offer to clean their house. Ask them if someone's driving them to get that procedure done. Pick up their favorite latte or healthy drink and just come over. But don't stay if they need their peace. Some of us, it's so hard to ask for what we want. Remember those martyrs? They're boring. Get your courage up. Be brave. For when you are vulnerable, you open that door for others to be vulnerable. And sometimes that's really hard. If you've come through something painful, you want to lock yourself away. You're protecting yourself. You're setting up barriers. You don't want anyone to penetrate that hurt the first time. You don't want to set yourself up a second time. But maybe that second time is pure spirit, pure light. For when you open, you give permission for someone else to step in. You give permission for someone else to share from a heart space that maybe for them was also very closed down. You are the catalyst for change. You are a catalyst for transformation. What is transformation? We were one way. We've now been exposed to something brilliant, loving, light-filled, and now we are a new way. And we're going to walk into that world feeling this empowerment that not only are you in this process, but you were meant to be here. There are no accidents. Do you think the greatest creator of the universe, that energetic flow, made an error with you? No. You are right here, right now, at this specific time for your own soul's evolution. That's power-filled. And when you play small and talk to yourself in such a way that your light is dimmed, as Terrell and Michelle saying, go home. Go home to that inner spirit within you. Let me share another piece in this book called The Path to Forgiveness. For many of us, that's exactly what we need to work on. Not only forgiving ourselves if we caused harm to anyone else, whether they recognize it or not, we know, and to forgive those who didn't show up like we wanted them to. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. Is it simply saying the words, I forgive you? Does it mean letting the person who offended you off the hook? Does forgiveness require you to become vulnerable again and open yourself to being hurt and mistreated? Or is forgiveness a matter of letting time heal your wounds? Forgiveness is a decision you make to pursue healing from an unfair, harmful incident by letting go of the disturbing thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that it has caused you. It's choosing to transform burdensome emotional and mental energy from what happened into healthy and constructive actions through the practices of compassion, empathy, and benevolence, regardless of whether the person who hurt you deserves it. Regardless if you've hurt yourself and you think you don't deserve it. By making the decision to forgive, I can transform the painful, negative energy I am feeling into something that is beneficial and will help me heal. You indeed are a masterpiece. You indeed have the power and authority to master all of your pieces. You indeed are the love and light expressing as God. And together we are so grateful and we are so thankful. Amen.
Lift it up, lift it up. When I choose love, I feel I'm lifted up. Lift it up, lift it up. When I choose love, I feel I'm lifted up. Oh, brother, can you lend a helping hand?
Oh, brother.
Sister, can you share some of your time?
Hey, soul sister.
It's up to us if it's to be. When I'm helping you, I'm helping me. Lift it up,
Lift it up.
lift it up.
Lift it
When I choose love, I feel I'm lifted up.
Feel I lift it up.
Lift it up,
Lift it up.
lift it up.
Lift it
When I
up.
choose love, I feel I'm lifted up. We don't need to travel round the world.
Round the world,
We can be of help right where we are.
right where we are.
If we could make a difference, you start right where we are. Let your light shine and you will find a way. Lift it up,
Lift it up.
lift it up.
Lift it
When I
up.
choose love, I feel I'm lifted up.
Feel I lift it up.
Lift it up,
Lift it up.
lift it up.
Lift it
When I
up.
choose love, I feel I'm lifted up. Could be as simple as a smile, or take the time to listen for a while. You never know how far it goes, so just pay it forward and
let
watch it
grow. And you can sing along with us on the chorus if you like.
This love we all share is deep and wide.
Deep and wide.
All boats are lifted on a rising
A
tide.
rising tide.
It's up to me if it's to be. When I'm loving you, I'm loving me. Lift it up, lift it up. When I choose love, I feel I'm lifted up. Lift it up, lift it up. When I choose love, I feel I'm lifted up.
Thank you. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Amen. All right.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. So good to see you all.